In today's edition, we have in the studio Solomon Sundu, a social analyst, and Melvin Tijan Mansari, a journalist. Good morning and welcome, guys. Melvin, good morning and welcome.
It's always good to be on AYV. Good morning, viewers. You know, AYV, I get it juiced on this and I get OT, and I get the Monday inside the Monday.
It's amazing to be here on the studio with you also. I mean, it's a beautiful time. Mr. Solomon, good morning and welcome again to yet another show. And it's a wonderful and a beautiful sunshine Saturday morning. I hope you viewers are going to have a good time as we deliberate on the issues also this morning. So stay tuned. Now, four stories for discussion this morning. In a press conference held today at the U.S. Embassy in Freetown, the U.S. Ambassador to Sierra Leone, Bryan, spoke about the $480 million Millennium Challenge Corporation MCC Compact grant that was recently approved with Sierra Leone. The agreement, among other things, aims to transform the country's electricity sector and foster sustainable economic growth. Ambassador Hunt emphasized the strategic conditions required for implementation and the detailed process through which these funds could be disbursed. Our correspondent, Marina Terry, witnessed the conference and filed in this report.
For the disbursement of the $480 million Compact Fund, there are three conditions the Sierra Leone's government must meet, which include parliamentary ratification of the project, energy reforms including the collection of independent power providers, and the third is the consistent passing of the MCC scorecard. Bryan Hunt is the U.S. ambassador to Sierra Leone.
But they are things like establishing a collection account that makes sure that independent power providers get paid. They are things like coming up with a roadmap for the reform of the sector. They are things like moving forward with the plans to bring in private sector management at EDSA. So, again, nothing that hasn't been talked about before, but these are the conditions that really will, within the energy sector, ensure that the project can be transformative.
The $480 million will not be given to the government of Sierra Leone during the implementation phase. The money will be controlled by the U.S. and expended through the Millennium Challenge Authority. Ambassador Hunt explains the process of expediting the money for the project.
They're every step of the way walking with the government of Sierra Leone, every procurement, every decision, we're making certain that it's in line with the purposes of the compact. That's part of our statutory responsibilities, and we take those quite seriously. So we will make sure that this money is used as it is intended. So, for example, if it's construction work, we might require that someone be licensed and bonded if they're going to be carrying out that work. If we're dealing with a large-scale project, we might require a company that has a certain revenue stream to make sure that they have the financing available to carry out that work.
MCC Country Director for Sierra Leone, Steve Gerder, accentuated that by modernizing the energy infrastructure, the country is poised to adopt more sustainable energy solutions.
We're going to invest heavily in refurbishing the existing grid, right? And the transmission is the high voltage part, the distribution is the medium and low voltage part. The medium and low voltage part needs a lot of investment. That's a lot of old equipment. It's been damaged. The rains here, even last night, I was surprised. It's still heavy. That takes a toll on infrastructure like this, so we need to refurbish that infrastructure. This compact, I think, will totally transform EGTC because the transmission assets are going to increase dramatically. And so that team is going to need to build a lot of transmission management capacity, and that's something that the compact will be investing in.
As the nation embarks on this new journey in partnership with the United States, the hopes of millions rest on success of this compact. It is a promising opportunity for the nation to unlock its potential and secure true development for citizens.
At the end of the day, failure to meet the standards would mean that we would suspend the compact. So Sierra Leone, when it signed the MCC, took on very serious responsibilities to make sure that it would meet those conditions to allow entry into force, number one, and secondly, that it would continue to meet the baseline eligibility criteria that it's met for the last several years in order to be compact eligible.
Marina Terry, AYV News, Freetown.
That's the first story to discuss this morning, guys. I mean, the MCC very much talked about compact in the country. I mean, let me start off with you, Melvin. Now, we're finally down with the MCC, finally been signed and all. We're going to see implementation quite soon and all of that. But there are a lot of conditions tied to this MCC. And as like Bryan Hunt, the ambassador, just emphasized at the end of it. But first of all, let me bring you in on the conditions around this MCC. Like he stated that they are going to monitor and we must maintain continuing those indices. Let me just bring you on that, the conditions around the MCC.
Okay, since you're talking about Bryan Hunt, I'll choose to reference a quote, a paragraph in his address on the country's signing of that $480 million United States dollars compact, MCC compact. One of the paragraphs says, today's signing is only the first step on our journey. With the signature of this compact, Sierra Leone takes on new challenging responsibilities. As the gold standard in development partnership, the Millennium Challenge Corporation requires that countries meet and sustain rigorous democratic, anti-corruption, and governance standards both for compact eligibility and throughout impact implementation. Underline this word. Failure to do so risk not only the suspension of Millennium Challenge Corporation funding, but also a loss of confidence from other development partners and the private sector. I can assure you that they and the U.S. Congress will be watching our progress closely. So to paint a picture as if the money is here is wrong, it's another step in a very long steps. So if you can listen carefully, today's signing is only the first step. So it means MCC has got steps or phases. So when our politicians here and abroad tend to give us an image as if this money is readily available, failing to realize and acknowledge that this is contingent upon the expeditious, that's one of the language they use, implementation of the agreement on national unity. You may want to ask what's the status of that, but I would beg my respected chief minister, and he's emerging a Pan-Africanist these days, he's making Africans' position, to come out and update us as to what's the status of the implementation, because us getting the MCC compact is contingent among several things, but primarily that of the advancement or progress in the implementation. So until and unless we know that, we cannot be ascertain for sure. And of course, towards that end also, I think the negotiators on behalf of the main opposition, All People's Congress, owes it onto the Sierra Leonean population that they update as to what was agreed upon, what has been done, what is yet to be done. Because USA is saying all this money will come or not come if those things are not met, among several other things. So it's quite an interesting one, but I will not dovetail in that, what I would call hypothesis, in which people are saying, oh, the money is here. The money is not yet here, and it's just a phase. And there are many phases to this phase of MCC compact.
Right, like you said, that's exactly where I wanted to go towards what Bryan just clearly stated, that the money is contingent on several other factors. Let me bring you in on this also. Being that, like, he also mentioned that the money will not be given to the Sierra Leonean government, like, to hold when it shall come finally, but it shall be there, the MCC corporations shall be there to supervise the expending of these monies. What does that mean so far for the implementation of the project? Do we see it as a go for a successful project rather than it being in the hands of the government and it being in the MCC side?
I would take from your last presentation or statement you made, do we see it as a success in the whole project? From what the ambassador said, the money it's not going to be given to the government of Sierra Leone as a cash for them to implement directly. That's why the Sierra Leone government has 2-point-something million as their own take, yeah, for it to be granted to Sierra Leone. What Sierra Leoneans need, or what we need, right, is for this, $480 million, which is stated on so many conditionality before that document you read, because our, democratic credential was almost in shambles. We saw exactly the 2023 elections, how it went. But before that, this is the same MCC, MCC give us a score mark that we have passed human rights, and nobody will tell me we are not in a human rights condition. I'm in the human rights committee, so I know what I'm talking about. So this tag, it was a document which was tagged for peace, national cohesion, how we can able to settle our, internal wrangling in the area of politics. So for the money being signed, it means that the legibility, and we are saying what those who are in charge, the chief ministers, just recently, over 200 civil society were in one hall, how to implement the tripartite agreement. So for me, Sierra Leoneans will be happy. It's not always we should be thinking of negativity around money giving. It's a grant. For us to say, oh, we should not do this. I know we are at the right step. We are not there yet. And for those who say it is not worth for the MCC to give us that money because the government needs to address certain, impasse within our political issues. That is internal.
But can you agree that also Sierra Leone is a fragile political state, and the contingent on what
it was not. It was. Now we are not a fragile state in any political wrangling.
What do you have to say with that?
Let me address that area. We saw where the Bintimani clearly tell us the roadmap.
But yet still, even after the Bintimani, we have several things coming, several impasses.
To make people understand.
I'm just trying to guide the discussion.
Lay the groundwork for both the opposition and the ruling party in governance. Yeah, and when you talk about governance, it's a broader term. The opposition are part. So winning this MCC, the opposition is also part of it, because one, by accepting to take part in governance, telling their parliamentarians to go to parliament, elected, councillors and mayors and chairpersons. These are the, implementations we are talking about. But for us to start thinking that the money will not, the only thing I will say, like what the ambassador said, that money is not going to be handing over cash.
Right.
But in the area of procurement, companies that are in Sierra Leone who are capable of doing that, that's what we want to hear. Not the negative aspect.
Melvin, I see you giggling a lot while Solomon was speaking. So what's your take considering fragile political states of Sierra Leone and the fact that the money is contingent on several democratic values and all of that?
I had my brother saying, it's domestic and internal wranglings. Just make me think of that. Oh, you want the people's money and you don't want to maintain their conditions.
No, that's what we are maintaining. Okay,
let me make my point.
Let me go show that, Melvin. Yes, like I said, considering the fragile political state of Sierra Leone and the fact that the money is contingent on democratic values and peace and all of those things, for unity in the land and the country being devoid of corruption. What do you think at this material time? Will we be able to sustain this cash per se?
If the government and the opposition are very sincere with themselves and the people of Sierra Leone, we will be able. But if they are not, it might be terminated. And let me give you an instance again using Hunt's remarks. Sierra Leone's ability to meet eligibility requirements has been a decade-long effort supported by successive governments. So now you underscore this is not just about SLPP government. It's about, hold on my brother, I'm talking about concerted effort between the government and the opposition. Now see how this is enforced. It continues that it represents a key example of the concrete benefits of the Sierra Leone People's Party and the All People's Congress setting aside partisanship to advance a common development objective.
That's what we'll be talking about.
So if we want to talk about this, if we are to get or not get MCC compact of $480 million United States dollars, It will be contingent on the attitude and the behavior of the SLPP and the APC.
So do we see that kind of a relationship between both parties right now?
That's why they need to update us. Chief Minister is very good at updating on his Twitter or X handle and Facebook. He ought to update us, and also the leaders of the opposition and the moral and the international guarantors. Because if we don't know where we are with the implementation of the agreement on national unity, what if something comes to Parliament and it's been rejected? That is one.
So Solomon, basically, as we are looking at now, the two political parties have a lot of stake in this, seriously. And so, do we see that collaboration with them right now? Is this promising that they are going to work together? Like, there are many people who are crying down the implementation of the tripartite committee right now up to date, like the full implementation of the tripartite committee. So, do we see that collaboration between both parties for us to sustain this?
My brother, we've just received the tripartite recommendations a few months ago. And I will not sit here and say we have not started the implementation. I've told
many citizens are worried about
how far have you done? Have you updated?
Melvin is not following what transpired. Few days, over 200 civil society. We are in.
Did the Chief Minister provide any updates? I followed it on his page. What has been done, what is yet to be done, and what was committed upon. Did he update on that?
Thank you.
I followed him live.
He opened.
He addressed the Mamikos issue. He addressed radical inclusion.
Let's give him a chance. Let him
Okay, please.
So this is the time for you and I. For me, I won't come and sit here and say what is funny. We read the documents. It is in our head. So for me, the implementation has started. For you to call civil society who are in fact anger, when you mention a new is not only one body, comprises of all so many civil society. In that world, what was there? They spoke about tribalism. We spoke about how Sierra Leone, the fragility we're talking about. And we said there is no tribalism in Sierra Leone. This Mamikos, this mistake.
And you said there is no tribalism in Sierra Leone.
We are not. I mean, I don't think about. I'm economan. I hail from the east. I've married to a Temene woman. What are you talking here? So for me, nobody will countenance that. And my family also. We are divergent in so many marital homes. So nobody will tell me they will not marry, Timini will not marry.
When it comes to politics,
so we just use that. That is the area where you and I, as somebody who kept the public
but the political landscape
let me tell you, don't leave these politicians. They are there to find their ways.
But this is what
and when politician is finding his way, you as an elite don't follow them. That's what they always used to say to people. Misinformation, imagine 2023 elections. Since in my own memory, I've never seen Mamikos into play. So that is their own way. So what we are saying here, the implementation of the tripartite. We are not there. 80 recommendations. We have started it. For us, civil society, we are here to cascade a message. Journalists, to put it on the very platform. Make it a very editorial platform where people can understand exactly what is happening. But we should not amplify.
So far in your estimation, what can you rate the percentage of the implementation of this?
I'm saying a few months ago, we held town hall meetings, and other engagements among the political parties and political rhetorics. For me, the APC and for those who say they got the MCC who have not worked to give that money or award that money. It's a shame on them. And all those who are thinking of that, let's follow the implementation. And as I'm saying, we should make sure we keep our democratic credentials intact. We should be together. We should be in peace. So why are you against peace? Why are you saying we should
let me bring you in. Let's move one step further. We have looked at the indices and the few things that are there to let the implementation go. Melvin, let's look at the other side. Also, the MCC representative in Sierra Leone was talking about when it shall fully see fruition, the impact it will create, transforming the ETGC and all of that. Are you confident that this money not being in the hand of the Sierra Leonean government or in the hand of any other person, but rather the MCC expending themselves, are you confident that this will really bring that change that we want to see in the electricity sector?
Well, for the fact that there is an unanswered question for even the U.S. government as to how is the Department for the DFC's 412 million United States dollars questionable electricity debt different from the 480 million MCC electricity fund, which is compact. You know, there's a huge $412 million United States debt or loan given to Sierra Leone for the same revitalization of the electricity sector. And also not forget that there was a previous threshold MCC program that concluded in that was completed in 2021 on electricity and water. So it begs the question: these people, are they giving us the rope and they holding the cow? It seems as if that's what the new neo-colonialist tendencies in their financial agencies are doing. And if you read articles from people like Dr. Chino, Alpha Bar, it's clear that even the United States government with this their MCC thing, there are lots of issues as to how they are. What is a loan given to Sierra Leone? What is a grant given to Sierra Leone? All around the electricity sector. So for me, I think there's a need for an independent auditing of United States funding to our electricity sector. They are saying it was successfully implemented, and they are now saying it's an expansion. Agreed. But what's the result of the previous threshold? That was like a smaller amount of the compact now. What was the result of that? So for me, for the fact that these monies will be going into agencies and contractors of United States government, it means that we should look inwards. We should not be SO2 abopin per America couple, because if you are abopin SO2 on America couple, they will give you conditionalities, and not only conditionalities, they will use subtle means.
At this material time, Sierra Leone needs those grants and loans.
Well, I will not say so from an informed perspective. They have given their facts and their figures based on how many people they want to benefit from electricity in the institutions. There is a need for that. It's justified. What I'm saying is, based on your question, that these monies are going back to US contractors and companies. And do you know what happens? Do you think it's just for free? They are giving tax waivers. They are giving several cuts and incentives. So you ask yourself, how is the bidding process going to be done?
Okay, thank you.
How neutral and independent the process is going to be? A Sierra Leone company is not going to be eligible based on the very high standards they will be setting. Nice point. So for me, it's not about the Americans, it's about what's best for everyone.
Before we go to the next question, the impact this will create when the money shall fully see fruition.
It will create a lot of impacts. Mark you, this money is going to benefit over 4 to 500 million Sierra Leone.
Expectedly.
Right? If being used properly.
No, if received first.
If being used. So my point, I'm not in the negative aspect. Right? I'm always positive in my life.
Okay.
So I don't think about negativity. It's not part of me.
Indeed.
So for me, I'm saying up to 4 to 500 million people are going to benefit. Let's take the Western urban and the rural. When you look at the estimation, we are almost up to 2 million. The rural and Western urban and Western rural. So it's going to cut across, right? Not only within the capital city, but going to cut across. So as I said, for me, the ambassador have outlined even how the money for companies who are up to the tax licensing with all qualifications, they will be accorded. And that is our plea. For me, you remember the other day we were here, I said, let the money be used for the melted purpose. This purpose for us to benefit.
Thank you.
I'm wishing the very
just to correct Sunus over projection.
Very
it is clearly stated that the compact intends to alleviate 70% of Sierra Leone's population from lack of access to electricity with a United States dollars 480.669 million grants, coupled with, just get this as correction, 14.2 million voluntary contribution from the government of Sierra Leone for its transformational energy sector investment to deliver, you call a thing, to deliver affordable and reliable electricity for an estimated You called 20 million. You called so many million. It was
4 to 5. Look at
Anyway, that's progress.
4 to 5 million.
We don't have time.
You're right.
What are you saying now?
Thank you guys. Thank you guys.
This document is. You have it, I have it. But I read. You know that.
No.
I'm good in that. So perhaps
I listen something different to me.
5 million.
Thank you very much.
It's okay. Thank you. Let's go to the next story. Let's not just give one of the old time to this one story. We are moving to the next story. Our next story in the Melvin and Solomon, please let's take the next story quickly. Let's not waste our time on this. The next story, as part of celebrations marking 6 years in governance of President Julius Maada Bio-led government, the membership of the Sierra Leone's People's Party met at the party's headquarters in Freetown, where they discussed what they refer to as the achievement of the leadership in governance in 6 years. Our reporter Fabian Simbo witnessed the event and our reports.
In 2018, the Sierra Leone People's Party-led government of President Dr. Julius Maada Bio took up governance. And 6 years down the line, the party's membership is boasting of having securing uncountable achievements. The membership at a meeting told the newsmen that during the 6 years of the new direction, they have restored fiscal discipline and macroeconomic stability, efficient service delivery, increased domestic revenue mobilization, strengthened budget execution, dependent private sector engagement, and reduce public debt, among other successes. Ahmad Sheikh Dabo, the regional secretary for the Sierra Leone People's Party, sheds light on government's achievements on education.
When HE took over, Dr. Julius Maada Bio, the enrollment rate in this country was less than 1,500,000 of children. The dropout rate was very high. With the free quality education, parents were encouraged to send their children to school free of cost. So that encouraged the parents and to send their children to school. So the enrollment rate increased considerably. The first year, 2018-2019, it rose up to about 2 million. Currently, it's about 2.5 million children in school. And the GDP location to education was about 6%. That has rose up to 22% currently.
Honorable Mansa Doumbouya, the regional chairman for the Sierra Leone People's Party, spoke on the party's challenges while appealing for national peace and stability.
This is a big challenge, especially in Sierra Leone. We take this politics so much that we are not thinking as a nation. The unity is a key to any developmental aspiration you may have. If a country is not united, it will be difficult for you to focus on anything good and come out with a better result. But when we are peaceful, we are united, we're able to understand each other, I am sure we'll forge ahead.
The Sierra Leone People's Party is one of the two major political parties in Sierra Leone, and this has been the ruling party in Sierra Leone since 4th April 2018. Fabian Simbo, AYV News, Freetown.
Thank you, Fabian Simbo, for that story. So the next story up, the 6 years evaluation of President Julius Maada Bio. Though that was from the party, and we'll bring it to the angle of citizens as we are discussing right now. Melvin, let me bring you in. Let's take it from citizens' view, from a journalistic point of view. What's your analysis, him being 6 years in governance?
I think that's a political stunt. That's a political theater, and it's good. It's for the members of their political party. It's their rights. It's a right to association.
Yeah, that's why we are bringing it.
Yes, I'm coming to my point. So it seems as if they want to be player and referee. They want to mark their own papers. I had somebody talk about fiscal discipline, reduce public debt, and I hold my head and I'm like, about these people here. This is the kind of propaganda they tell their supporters, and when sometimes certain things happen, they are not able to change the perception. We should not mislead people, be SLPP or APC. I think if the SLPP leadership want to help President Bio. Yes, it's their right to partly celebrate for the MCC, to celebrate their accomplishments, but that will mean much if it's coming from, for example, Dove Court women celebrate SLPP's achievements, Okada riders celebrate SLPP's achievements, then it gives it more credence. But for it to come from Pati Pikin and other things, and for me, I think it's quite it's misleading, it's diversionary. If SLPP owes its supporters anything, they should be talking about how they intend to manage their constitutional review, which a lot of ulabalo has been around as to whether should David Senge be in charge of it as chairman when he is purportedly nursing presidential ambition. That they should be thinking about SLPP leadership and their supporters. Let me just plan. If they are really serious about upholding the tenets of SLPP political party, they should be talking about who succeed President Bio and how will the leverage be created. And they should be talking about the tripartite, how far they've done as a government.
Let's get off from them, and which is why I have not what I'm saying now. Let's look at the president. Let's talk about the party and what they will be saying. Well, let's come to the lower. As a journalist, your analysis of him in terms of democracy, in terms of laws, in terms of his flagship program, the last incumbency, and now also the feed salon. What's your analysis? I will just give you 2 minutes to wrap up that.
Okay, my analysis is basically that a lot needs to be done by the president, because for the fact that even his champion international financiers and backers like the United States government, they are saying his election was flawed. That cannot go away. So if SLPP want to do justice to Sierra Leoneans, you are asking more people-centered questions. They should be able to come out and tell us their figure as to how they won. The U.S. ambassador, you know, is now the port of call when we talk about governance issue, although there are so many others like the Babatunde Awunusi and others. But I will tell you, for the fact that the election of the SLPP government is disputed, that should be sanitized. And when you...
In your opinion, how can that be sanitized?
Provide the figures. Implement the provisions of the National Unity Agreement. This is a slap on the SLPP government. The SLPP government has been very challenged and constrained. Imagine.
Moving away from that, what's your take on the free quality education that was their last agenda before coming to this feed salon? Look at both of them.
It's a visionary one, but the education is not free. It's not quality.
Is it sustainable, by the way, up to that?
It's not legislated as per law, so it's not going to be sustainable. So what if power change hands? Free quality education is not a legislation in Sierra Leone. So I think those are some of the things the SLPP lawmakers should be thinking about, and government officials. How do we make our legacies stand the test of time?
So the feed salon agenda, it's been a year going down to 2 now. In your estimation, what's
it almost seems as if it's a personal agenda. Feed salon, because you have the president talk about his farm and he displayed big fish. The other day he was talking at his minister. If you follow the chief minister, he has harvested, and in fact he has not got store, so they'll be using container. And those kind of things.
So, at the time of manifestation of this, are you worried?
Because it's not time bound, you cannot be sacrosanct in your assertion. You cannot say the feed salon is a fake or a reality. Because the funds, the time, and all of that things, but it's a visionary idea.
Time is not in our favor. Solomon, let me bring you in. The analysis, your estimation, your view about the government for the past 6 years so far in terms of democracy, free education, and now the feed salon.
I will limit myself to what the news is purporting. I'm not going to go outside.
I want to draw you out of...
Are we reviewing what's...
Yes, we are reviewing what the...
SLPP supporters...
No, listen. I am the moderator for the session.
Are jubilating, celebrating...
I am the moderator for the session. We are going to look at that. 6 years. We are going to look at that. But I'm asking you a question to come out of that a little bit.
I'm coming from there.
Just answer my question.
Because we are reviewing.
Yes, just answer my question, then we'll go there. Okay. We'll go there.
The question you've posed,
yes,
if what this news is telling us that the SLPP supporters are jubilating and celebrating their achievement for the past 6 years, if my own take. If what they are jubilating for is it celebrated or
no? So let me rephrase the question.
Okay,
Let me rephrase it. So in your you're a civil society person, you are supposed to be on the side of the people. So that's why I love it that we have a journalist in the civil society. Actually. So we are looking at President Bio, 6 years in office so far. Yes, the news was saying the party came together and so forth. But from our side, as a civil society analyst, what's your take? Somebody advocating for the people so far in terms of governance, in terms of unity, in terms of his deliverables in the past 6 years.
So I'll go back to what the chairman of the Western area of the SLPP said. He said a country cannot achieve its goal if they are not in peace, and they need peace and national cohesion. All the development they are talking about, talking about the free quality education. For me, that is my plea that it is not legislated, it is a pronouncement and project. And I'm yearning for this government, before they leave, they should let it be legislated, because for far too long, we are crying for this facility for education to be free. So for me, in their achievements, education, my brother, in my own days, for 10 cents, people drop out of schools in this country. 20 cents, 10 Leone. Yeah? So if the government is saying it's a laudable project, for me, I was part, and most of the journalists in this country, I took them to follow the trend for us to exactly cascade the message. Because people are saying where the money will come from, where the government will get the money. And you see by their own wisdom, they give us 22% out of our national budget. So it's left to the people who are implementing this project for the benefit of Sierra Leone.
All right, so also there are a lot of citizens who are crying about the fact that, crying about quality in the education, now that they've rolled into another term in office, that some people are saying they are paying. What's your take on that?
So that's the implementation I'm talking about. It's left for you and I, those who are in charge, the teachers, principals, heads of schools.
Are you sure it's left with you and I, or for the government to oversee and ensure this?
All of us are part of it. When you go to constituencies or districts, even the honorable members who were campaigning that they will give scholarship for 6 trillion, they are no longer doing that. Their role is to go and monitor these schools, be part of the exercise, the city mayors and council chairpersons or councillors. This should be property owned, because it's education.
On the side of it, Salon, what's your...
And what these SLPP supporters are glamoring for, they are talking about their party successes. You will not sit here and say policies in that parliament for which Mevi is part of it. You talk about the mining policies. It has been reviewed. You talk about the child rights. It has been reviewed. You talk about the 30% of women. It has been reviewed. These are all policies.
Quickly, in 1 minute, just go to the feed salon.
We need to talk about. Not to come and say SLPP and this. That's their own business. Politicking is politicking. If they are celebrating what they have achieved, it's left with them to go to Abacha or to Dover to say,
as an advocate of the people, so far,
we need to see more.
Manifestation of the
for me, I need to see more. Just like what he said, for this free quality education to be legislated, for it to be owned.
Yes, let's move to the free quality education. Let's go to the feed salon manifestation, just in 1 minute.
The feed salon is on course. When was the president 1 year? He just announced, and when you talk about feeding a nation, it's not a cheap thing. Right?
But agriculture is not a cheap thing. Also that
agriculture.
The Finance Act of last year states that this year 5% of imported rice.
You have to put the structures in place. You don't just talk about it.
Yes.
When you talk about land, you have to, like for example, we are talking about Bondapi and the Tomoabo. Those were projects before, and they need to prepare that land. When you talk about land preparation, it's not just 1 year.
Are you aware that the Finance Act of 2023 states that in last year that 5% was going to be placed on imported rice, and by next year another 10% will be going so as to ensure that we give space to products here and
exactly.
So the manifestation.
So now go to the countryside. My man, I'm just from the countryside. People are farming. You say, Bakaba said this. He said, come 2027 or 2007, no Sierra Leone should go to bed with hunger. People politicize that language. It means that you, as a citizens, we know what is agriculture before. Now, backyard, we get them tomato. pepper, we get all that thing for plant. Today na Sierra Leone, everybody na for belows, even inside free to up ilo, usai, you need to see nothing. So agriculture is the footbed of every country's success.
All right, thank you.
Right?
Let me hold you there
so
shortly. I think one last discussion
level.
we'll have to delve into. We don't have the excerpt for that, but basically in the ECOWAS third extraordinary session that was held in Togo, Lomé, we saw that the community's parliament was raising concern over barriers in terms of free movement and that of trade, a core principle on which the ECOWAS was founded upon. Like the head of that committee was saying that it is clear that they have witnessed it and they have experienced that some countries are not allowing free movement of trade and all. They are doing all sorts of things. Let me start with you, Melvin. Since you're on the mic just now, Melvin, what's your take on that? That's a core principle on which the ECOWAS was found.
Of course, the treaty itself for the establishment of the ECOWAS states that there should be a free movement of people, goods and services. But how that happens when the currencies are not of the same value has been the disagreement between particularly Francophone and Anglophone. Interestingly, I should underscore that this government is doing exceptionally well when it comes to the ECOWAS parliament, as the government has paid according to my sources, all of its areas in terms of levy. What is levy? The levy is the amount of money that the parliament uses to run its business, and Sierra Leone is not what I would call homemonger in this case. However, the bottom line remains that ECOWAS itself needs an introspection as to what the time dictates of it. And thus, you are seeing the fragmentation of ECOWAS. You're seeing countries like Burkina Faso, Mali and Guinea. They are all saying they don't want to be part. And that's a worrisome or worrying trend for the economic, it's called integration of West Africa. If we were talking about even advancing to a single currency, we have a lot to do. Because, for example, but there are different. There is not a uniform border or immigration procedure within the sub-region. The taxation is not the same. The currency rate is not the same. Exchange rate is not the same. The countries in the sub-region are not in the same economic equilibrium. So how do you balance political interest versus that of economic interest? Because at the end of the day, the people, the goods and the services all boils to politics, power, and commerce or trade. So who wants to keep a grip on this, and how it should be a level playing field, like even for the European Union? Not all countries in the EU are using the EU. You have countries like is it Yugoslavia? They are part of the EU, but they are not using the EU. You have in the Brexit. So, okay, so economic integration is challenged because we are seeing a rise in a trend of two schools of thought, the globalist and the nationalist. Okay. Those that are saying, Salon for beef or Saloman, damn to what people are saying outside of Sierra Leone. And you have others that are saying, oh, Sierra Leone is a part of the global village and we should play by the rules of the global village.
Okay, so Solomon, that's the concern in the ECOWAS parliament, that there's barriers in free trade and movement of people. Should we be worried as citizens concerned?
Of course we should be worried. When you look, let's think about the Mano River Union in the first place, Liberia, Guinea, Sierra Leone, and now Côte d'Ivoire, right? It's part of us now. If you look at the Francophone and the Anglophone, you look at our differences. It's not that much, but when it comes to money, right? That was what our leaders were yearning for Africa to have one currency. If that is in place and we are able to achieve that single currency for us to use our own money within Africa, that can bring that sanity among us in the area of trade, businesses from Sierra Leone to Guinea, you use one currency. I think that's what we should be, ECOWAS should be glamoring for. On the area of other countries booting out themselves from ECOWAS and African Union, it's just the same as any other country. You are seeing Britain, exiting themselves from Europe. So it happens. All we need to do, they need to bring out what was left behind, what we need to do for us to combat that situation. Gaddafi was fighting for that. And you have seen, they told us we have the money now in bank, and all the raw material for that, trade balance to exist.
So Melvin, as we wrapping up and we close lastly, the issue of these countries trying to exit ECOWAS, I mean, the deadline time would be in January. Is this a concern to states that others might tend to want to exit themselves, seeing that should this be a success that they exit?
Yes, this is a sign on the wall that if these countries, if ECOWAS don't do what these internal countries, these domestic nations want, they might want to break away. For example, Sierra Leone, we are grappling now with the presence of ECOM seal. So imagine if there is a disagreement between ECOWAS now and the government of Sierra Leone under President Bio. Certainly, that will have a bearing. So it's worrisome, and ECOWAS, that's why I said earlier on, they must have a self-introspection as to their relevance. But let's not forget, many of these countries in West Africa are in this situation because of the role of their colonial past and colonial masters.
Okay.
For example, these countries that are breaking away, see their relationship with France. So the global north must understand that the global south is finding its feet and its way into the global conversation. And above all, the rise in far right and far left ideologies in Europe and America is also having a bearing as to how
we're not getting to neo-colonialism again any longer. For me, this country, Morocco, did the same. But they begged themselves to come back. What I'm saying, it happens all over the world. All we need to do as Africans, let's put our priorities straight. Let's allow sovereignty to rule accordingly by democratic tenets. You know, this coup also is getting us another way. You see Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, where they're heading from, based on what their colonial master did to them. So West Africa, we are not there. That's why when some people call for coup and the likes, we are different from those people. At least we are not in the area of democratic credential as we are yearning for, but we have started it. Anyhow you talk about Salon in election, a better pass Nigeria. Now you see America, they assassinate all over the world. Election not to one.
America, Nigeria, they pull results.
So all over, yes, they pull results.
Nobody
we don't want to go back to
like what let's wrap it up there.
Elections are done and dusted. Of course. Okay. For us to start talking about.
Right, thank you, Solomon. Thank you so much for thank you, Melvin, also for this. No, we are through the compact discussion. Let's wrap up. That's why there's another show. Yes, I know. Thank you, but the time is now. The time. Yes, thank you, Solomon.
Because SLPP,
thank you. It's amazing. So thank you guys. Thank you. It's amazing having a discussion with you, Melvin, and Solomon here this morning.
It's up to you.
Can we please wrap it up? Let's wrap it up. Yeah, I thought we were talking about ECOWAS, by the way.
It's not.
But they have signed.
It's okay.
The legibility.
Solomon and Melvin. All right. So we are ending it here. Please, guys. Melvin, we are ending it here. Solomon, we are ending it. All right. So guys, thank you for joining us in this discussion today. Thank you, Solomon. Thank you, Melvin, for joining us. Well, a wonderful time of discussion this morning. We thank you for giving us your time. We are sorry that we are unable to read out some messages that you dropped in, but we hope you had a wonderful time in this deliberation this morning. As you can see, it was a great time. Thank you for spending time with us, and thanks once again to Solomon. Thanks once again to Melvin for their discussion this morning. I've been your presenter, Samuel Tony Sawyer. Many thanks for watching and listening. Stay tuned till next week.